Sally was ecstatic to be receiving a gift from Edgar alongside Alessandra. She was already more than happy for Alessandra to receive the Queen's heart. Sally could not wait to see the reactions of the young women in Lockwood as they burned with jealousy. Caleb poked Sally's cheek after he found her grinning like a madman. "What is going on in that head?" Sally swatted his hand away as she would do with an annoying fly.
"Don't bother me, Caleb. I'm having happy thoughts."
"I see. Do you want me to buy you something? Girls always get excited when they see something shiny," said Caleb. Sally started to judge him because she heard something about him recently.
"Of course you would know that. A playboy like you must have bought many women jewelry to woo their hearts. I don't need anything from you, as the Duke is already buying something."
"Doesn't hurt to have more than one." Sally started to walk around to get a good look at the jewelry Benjamin had in his shop and said,
"It does when it is coming from you. I already said I want nothing from you, and the things here would certainly be too expensive if his family were the ones to make the Queen's heart. The Duke spending money is fine enough."
"Wait a second. Do you perhaps think I am broke because I work as a guard for the Duchess? I'm happy to inform you that I have money at my disposal. I have a life outside of the Duke, and even my life surrounding the Duke keeps my pockets full. My parents have money, but I chose to follow the Duke when I joined the battlefield."
"Okay,"
Sally replied, not caring about his life story. She didn't think he didn't have any money, but he may not have been able to spend so much money on jewelry like the Duke.
"Edgar, do you think Sally and Caleb will end up together?"
Alessandra whispered to Edgar as she watched the other two bicker. "I don't know, and I hardly care," Edgar bluntly replied. The only relationship that interests him is the one he had with Alessandra. Sally and Caleb's back and forth proved to be as annoying as he had expected. "Focus less on them and more on what you want." "So, you wouldn't mind if I wanted to buy out this entire shop?" Alessandra said to put Edgar to the test. For as long as she had been living with him, she had not found out where all of Edgar's money came from. For all she knew, he could be doing something illegal. As Alessandra expected, Edgar was not bothered by the fact she wanted to buy out the shop. Since they had nothing other to do than wait for Benjamin to pick out something else for her and something for Sally, Alessandra decided to ask, "How do you make most of your money, Edgar? What businesses do you have? Or are you just sitting on a mountain of money from inheritance? Does the king pay you for taking on the case of the missing girls?" Edgar motioned for her to be closer, as what he had to say was a secret. "Listen closely," he whispered into her ear after she took the bait to be closer to him. Alessandra had started to predict his actions well, but he still had a lot of tricks under his sleeves. "I kill people and steal their wealth. That is why you do not have access to the dungeon." Alessandra stepped back and looked up at Edgar because of their slight height difference. "Normally, I would take this as a joke, but a little voice in my head tells me to believe a part of it. Not that you steal, but you have killed people and placed them in the dungeon. You do not need to ban me from going there, as I do not want to see how you have tortured any of your enemies." "It would be fun if you joined in on torturing our enemies. We would be a couple unlike anything anyone has ever seen, burying dead bodies together," Edgar said, intrigued by the idea. But he would never bring Alessandra into the dark side of his life. He wanted her hands to always remain clean while he got rid of her enemies. "Nothing about that seems like it would be fun for me, Edgar. I do not want to end up on the kingdom's wanted list. Since Oliver is always watching you, I take it the people you have killed are bad. Why are you keeping them in your dungeon instead of handing them over to the town guards? Does Tobias know about it? Tobias is well aware there are some people you cannot catch with the law. And though the town guards are meant to protect the people, there are men within the guards who work for crooked men. They help people get away from being punished for their crimes. I view the town guards to be pointless sometimes. That is why I had always planned to kill your father, as they would have let him get away, Edgar explained. So, you are like a knight hero who kills anyone who can escape the town guards. Yet, the people call you a monster. If only they could know how much you are keeping the kingdom safe. With that, I have never brought up something Hazel told me when we visited the palace. Is it true there is trouble at the borders and you must leave to help protect it? Alessandra asked, worried for Edgar's safety. Edgar rolled his eyes, annoyed that this was brought up to Alessandra. He did not want to fight for the kingdom again and leave Alessandra alone. There is no need for you to be worried about it. I have already told Tobias I am not leaving. He can ask many skilled men to deal with the problems there. But he wants you because there is no one he trusts like you, Alessandra replied, knowing this was the reason. She did not want Edgar to leave, but knew he had to. She also knew he was not leaving because of her. With him gone, her enemies would use this to mess with her. It does not matter what he wants, as I am not going, and you will not make me change my mind. It is not like there is a war at the border. Bandits and gangs formed together to fight against Tobias as king. He destroyed many of their hideouts because they were taking people to be sold outside of the kingdom. Tobias is more than able to take care of it. Do you wish for your husband to ride off into danger? He played with her hand as he awaited the answer. No, Alessandra honestly replied. She would rather have Edgar nearby than far away where she could not see that he was safe. But if Tobias were ever to need you? Tobias has been my friend for many years. I would join him if trouble at the borders becomes more than he can handle. I have no intention of letting my friend and king be hurt. As of right now, he can handle the border on his own. He has to learn to trust others and not just me. I have a new life I cannot simply run away from whenever he calls. Should we change this? Edgar twirled around the ring on her finger. Alessandra looked down at her engagement and wedding rings. Edgar had the engagement ring made to her liking, and the wedding band was simple. No, I like both of them. Honestly, I would not have minded wearing the wire ring you made, but others would judge me. Edgar's wire ring made in the church was more sentimental than the ring she received days later to replace it. Screw what they think. I cannot always do that because I worry how my actions will affect your reputation. You do not have to worry about it, but I do. I am striving for my reputation to reach where you are, said Alessandra. That would take you many years, wouldn't it? Edgar stated that although he did not care for his reputation, he was famous and rose to a point where it was hard for anyone to reach him. Alessandra glared at Edgar for ruining her moment. Thank you for that, she sarcastically said. It motivated her to not only surprise everyone else, but also Edgar. She wanted to escape her shell so she would not recognize the girl who used to run and hide in her room to avoid Kate's games. Her personality would remain the same, but her confidence would change. Since you wish for it to happen, I will be a spoiled wife. Benjamin! Alessandra called to get the owner's attention. Edgar wished to spoil her with many things, and, as a duchess, there was a specific look she needed to have whether she liked it or not. Please give me everything from here to here. She pointed at the large counter. It felt odd to do, but satisfying at the same time. Really? Benjamin exclaimed, surprised by the sudden order. He had prepared himself to try convincing her to buy more, but in the short period he had turned around, she suddenly took interest in an entire counter. He glanced at Edgar to see if this was all right at first, but once he saw the man grinning like a fool beside his wife, he got his answer. One moment. I have never seen anyone so happy to get their money spent before, Alessandra commented on Edgar's expression. Obviously, you have only been around your father, who has been in debt for how many years? You've had no opportunity to be around a man like myself, and you won't find another quite like me. Alessandra shook her head at Edgar, complimenting himself. I have met the king. Keep believing that he is the richest man in the kingdom just because he wears a crown. If you are richer than the king, please enlighten me on how you get your money. Not right now, but when we return to Lockwood. I should have taken a better look at the counter before I made such an order, Alessandra said as she looked down at the counter where Benjamin was taking out the jewelry. Regret filled her mind as she stared at some of the jewelry that was indeed too big. They screamed, "Look at me, I have money." Do not repeat your words now after making such a big order. You don't want to break Benjamin's heart, do you? Edgar asked, trying to guilt trip her into keeping all the jewelry. I realize most of these will remain in boxes as I have nowhere to go. I hope we receive many invitations from your friends so that this jewelry won't go to waste. You don't always need to leave home. You can invite Aaron and Hazel to our home, said Edgar. Alessandra liked that idea, but wondered if the queen would have time to leave the palace. Would Hazel come to our home? Why not? Her husband sneaks out of the palace often to visit my home without an invitation. Have Sally and Alfred help you create a list of invitations for women who would make good friends for you. You can have your first party as Duchess during the winter. I will start planning it when we return home. One more day and then we are back home. We didn't get to meet many of your family members during our time here, but at least we should be able to have dinner with your grandmother tonight. She and Alfred have been gone for quite a long time, Alessandra said, looking outside the shop to see if they were nearby. They have, haven't they? Edgar questioned, feeling as if the two were up to no good. He knew no one his grandmother saw in town to chat with. She was always one to avoid talking with others whenever she was out with family, as she called it family time. But the first thing she did as soon as they arrived was to speak with a friend. Alfred, the sly fox, and his grandmother, who desperately wanted her great-grandchildren, were teaming up. Edgar could either stop whatever was being planned right now or enjoy it. The answer was obvious. It was amusing for him to watch Alessandra be concerned about where the two were without knowing she was in the middle of a plan. I will have my men safely deliver all the jewelry for you without hiccups. This one's for you. Benjamin slid a small box to Sally as the Duke requested. A fan of the Queen's heart deserves something special.
Thank you, Duke Edgar.
Sally accepted the gift. It was weird how she went from being scared the day Edgar picked up Alessandra's things from the Baron's home to now receiving gifts from him. Sally opened the box and immediately fell in love with a necklace given to her. It was a smaller version of the Queen's heart with a small ruby in the middle. From the ruby alone, she knew right away that it had to be expensive. Something like this would help her buy a small house for her family. But she knew it was wrong to sell something the Duke gave to her, so she would cherish it. Thank you for the business, Benjamin said specifically to Edgar, as his pockets were the ones to pay for all of this. Caleb, take them to the next shop. I will settle the payment and join you in a moment. Keep your eyes out. We may not be in Lockwood, but there is still danger, Edgar stated. He had enemies in this town, and there were people who wouldn't want to miss the chance to attack them, thinking there would be expensive jewelry on them. Caleb nodded, but Edgar did not need to advise him to look for danger. He was already keeping an eye on outside activity to protect everyone. Please follow me, Duchess, You should put away that necklace, Sally, he advised her, as thieves would target her.
Right.
Sally tucked the necklace inside her dress. It was much safer than her pockets, where someone could quickly run and pull it out.
Where to now, Duchess?
I don't know. We should just walk until we find something interesting, Alessandra said, her voice becoming distant as she and Sally left, with Caleb right behind them. So, you're married now. Benjamin rested against the counter, ready to tease Edgar. You did not even introduce me as your friend. How rude. You know the only reason I gave her the Queen's heart is because she must have some heart to convince a man like you to get married. Thank you for that, said Edgar. Thank you. Are you Edgar? Benjamin poked Edgar's hand to make sure it was him. The deadly glare confirmed it was. Why didn't I get introduced as your friend? It was hard to act like we weren't familiar with each other. How is Tobias doing? It's been a while since I went to deliver jewelry for his wife. Still annoying. What is the entire total? Edgar got straight to the point as he wanted to return to Alessandra. I will send you the bill. There's no rush for you to pay me. I know you have the money to pay me, and I won't have to send my men after you. Benjamin pointed at the two large men by the door. He had one more in the back to protect the rest of the jewelry. So, how is married life? I recall you saying marriage is not for you. You seem pretty happy and excited to have her spend your money. Isn't it obvious? I met a girl who changed my mind. There's nothing to explain. You once ran around the town claiming too much love for one woman, but then you settled down and now have 2 children. Yeah. Do you care to see how big they have gotten? My daughter has already taken a liking to making jewelry. I will be able to retire peacefully like my father and grandfather. You can come over for dinner tonight. Benjamin extended an invitation. It had been a while since he sat down with Edgar. Dominic is coming over tonight. No, thank you. Edgar started to walk towards the door. I remember how loud and full of snot your children were. I prefer peace and cleanliness. Can't argue with that, Benjamin said, taking no offense to Edgar's words. He worked in the shop to get away from home to avoid hearing his children scream. I hope the Duchess gives you plenty of children to ruin your peace, he yelled before the door could close behind Edgar. Edgar's genes are going to multiply. Is the world ready for it? Duke, I was once a man slaying enemies on the battlefield, fighting from morning until late hours into the night, and was nicknamed the Blood Giant. I followed you because of your skills while we fought side by side, and you saved my life once. I thought if I continued to follow you, there would be excitement in my life. Never would I have expected this. Why am I holding your wife's bags? Caleb turned to the man beside him, who was lucky to have no bags in his hands. Because you are a strong man, Edgar replied. You are stronger than me. I am just taller than you, said Caleb. He had 4 bags hooked around his right hand and carried numerous boxes in his hands. Most of the things belonged to Alessandra, but she bought a few for Sally and Aaron. Quit complaining before your little crush sees that you are weak. Alessandra has told me that Sally has a thing for strong men. Edgar lied so that Caleb would continue to hold the bags. Really? Caleb stood up straight. Once again, romance turns people into fools. Edgar shook his head at Caleb's predicament. Edgar! What do you need? Edgar answered Alessandra's call. He left Caleb's side to check what else had caught her eye. There are more lucky charms for swords. Alessandra pointed to a table full of them. I do not require luck when it comes to fighting, and the one you gave me is already enough. If there are ones for a gun... You own a gun? Alessandra exclaimed, caught off guard by the news. She heard her father wanting one because guns were much better than swords, but not everyone could own one yet. Why wouldn't I? It is at home, hidden away for safety. I only intend to use it for emergencies. You will soon find swords disappearing as Tobias forms agreements with lands familiar with making guns and starts a trade. The town guards are supposed to be trained to use them soon. Tobias wants them to be introduced into the kingdom slowly because of how easy it is to kill someone, Edgar explained. It will be a scary place when everyone starts to use guns. There you are, children. Alfred and I have been looking all over for you. It seems like you did a good amount of shopping. Rose commented on what Caleb was holding. We should end the trip here and head back. The sky has changed and the wind has picked up. Heavy rain will soon fall. Take it from me, as I have lived here for many years. Edgar and I have not spent time with you, Alessandra stated. She had been excited to spend time with Rose, but Rose and Alfred had disappeared somewhere during their entire time here. Alessandra looked at the bags in Alfred's hands and realized the two had gone shopping too. We are family now, dear. We will always find time to be together here or in Lockwood. I've received news that my sister is ill, so I will have to skip dinner tonight. I'll have my carriage take me home first and then take your friends and Alfred back home, said Rose. Alessandra didn't see the need for this when there was enough room in the carriage she and Edgar rode in. That's all right. There's room in the— No! Rose loudly stated, clearing her throat after the dramatic outburst. Alfred cannot ride back by himself. What if he gets caught in the weather? The tall guard must tag along with Alfred, and his pretty little lover will want to go with him, right, dear? Rose stared into Sally's eyes, telling her not to disobey her. Yes. I promised Caleb I would stick with him, Sally lied. Caleb looked down at Sally, wondering when she had made such a promise. But then he realized what was happening. There was a ploy to get the Duke and Duchess alone together. He did not mind as long as he got to stay with Sally. Really? Alessandra's shoulders dropped as she wanted to ride with Sally. She did not want Sally to miss out on being with Caleb. Edgar and I will ride together then. See all of you when we return. The two groups separated to return to the two carriages they had come in before the rain started to fall. Edgar, do you feel Alfred and your grandmother are plotting something? Alessandra asked when the two of them were in the carriage on the way home. Edgar smiled, amused that it had taken this long for her to catch on. Those two sly foxes were most likely plotting from when we departed to go shopping. I have been anticipating what they are planning since I realized. It wouldn't have killed you to inform me when you noticed it. I would have told you. It would have killed the fun the two of us will certainly have. Let them have their fun, secretly plotting around. There is no need to ruin their happiness, said Edgar. Alessandra saw right through his words, saying, You are only saying this for your entertainment, not for their feelings. I hope this is not a second attempt from when Alfred plotted for us to be in the bathroom simultaneously. He successfully pulled that off, and thinking about Rose joining him is scary. Yes, that is why I am expecting something exciting. I hope they do not disappoint after getting my hopes up. I would not be surprised if Alfred, Sally, and Caleb do not return soon. It seems you need to work on Sally and Caleb's loyalty to you in the future. My grandmother could easily scare her into not riding with us, said Edgar. He admired how, at her age, his grandmother was still able to make others tremble without losing her temper or threatening anyone. A simple smile and a look in the eye were enough. While Edgar anticipated what awaited them, Alessandra dreaded what Alfred and Rose could have planned. War and I have sent you the message. She will offer you a room for the night. Sally and Caleb will be there to keep you company. Do not return until the morning, Edgar ordered the young coachman. It was now time for him to take this game into his own hands. Understood, Troy replied, without questioning why Edgar wanted him to do this. Edgar! Alessandra frantically returned to the door. There is no one here. How on earth did they plan all of this? I was not far from Rose when we returned home this afternoon. Not even the butler is here. Edgar was not the least bit surprised by this. It made his job much easier, as Troy was the only person he had to sneak around to get rid of. Edgar stepped inside and closed the door behind him to give Troy the signal to leave. Feigning ignorance about the entire ordeal, he replied, Are you certain the servants staying here have not settled in because of the weather? No one is here, Alessandra replied. It's too quiet for someone to be here. You can hear something drop on the floor. It is only the two of us inside at the moment. I have to give it to those sly foxes for pulling this off. They must have sent a message back home while we were shopping. They truly should provide their talents to help create strategies for wars. We should enjoy this time alone. Or does it make you uncomfortable? It does not. It is just surprising that those two have gone to such lengths. The sooner we separate Alfred and your grandmother, the better. They are a dangerous duo. What should we do now? Alessandra looked to Edgar for an answer. It was nearing time for dinner to be prepared, but it was just the two of them. She had never been taught how to cook, and she was certain Edgar had no time or need to learn. Many thoughts are racing my mind about what we can do, but let's take this slowly. You could change into something more comfortable first, Edgar advised her, as she had been wearing the dress since noon. Her shoes could not be comfortable either. Do you need my help? No, the buttons are at the front. Do you remember what we talked about in the garden this morning? About you and I going a step further? Alessandra blushed as the words left her mouth. She had been bold enough to say she wanted to try new things as a married couple with Edgar, and did not want to turn away from it now that they were alone. She did not intend to take one step forward and then 5 steps backward. It is hard to forget the temptation you gave me this morning. I intend to give you a lesson, but I have no desire to go too far. I don't want Alfred and my grandmother to be pleased with the fact something happened between us thanks to their planning. It will only encourage them to continue this in the future. I will keep my promise not to go all the way. Do not let it cloud your mind or you will only panic. Too late, Alessandra thought, but she offered him a smile. Edgar already had in mind what he would do to ease Alessandra into what he had planned from the morning. Regardless of Alfred and his grandmother's plotting, he had intended to pleasure her, and this moment would not go to waste. First, he needed her to forget all about it. After you have changed, we will head to the kitchen to prepare dinner. Can you cook? Alessandra asked. He was already perfect at everything, besides painting, so Edgar suddenly having a talent for cooking would not be surprising. I have only cooked meat over a fire during my time at the border. This will be a learning experience for both of us. Hurry so I can grab a change of clothes. Or do you want us to strip here? Edgar, you are the same as always. Edgar chuckled, watching Alessandra hurry to change privately. It did not matter. What she changed into would come off by the night's end. 20 minutes later, Alessandra had freshened up and changed into her nightwear. After dinner, they would most likely end up back in their room, so she thought there was no reason to dress up. Alessandra looked to the right in the hallway under the stairs, leading up to the second floor, and found Edgar dressed in only short pants and his hair dripping wet. Where did you get shorts from? She did not hear him enter their bedroom. There is another room with clothes I use when I come here. Took it off. he said, touching her exposed cheek where the mask once was. As Edgar touched her face, Alessandra felt like something was stuck in her throat. Taking off the mask was still hard for her, and each step away from the table she placed it on was painful. However, as only the two of them were present, she pushed herself out of her comfort zone. There was no need to wear it when it was just us. I will no longer wear it to bed either. It has always been uncomfortable, and now I can't wait to lie on a pillow without it getting in the way. Alessandra cleared her throat after her eyes had gone to Edgar's exposed chest. No wonder the maids would peek at him when he was not looking. Edgar did not miss the way she had averted her eyes. Her innocence would soon be the death of him. He looked forward to seeing more of her expressions once they went further. It would not hurt for you to look at my body. I do not mind your stares. Alessandra remained quiet, knowing she would embarrass herself if she spoke now. Come, we should get dinner started before it is too late. Edgar offered his hand for her to hold. He had yet to figure out why he craved her touch. It was more than just the feelings he started to have for her, and more than just his desire to be intimate with her. He found her touch to be calming for some reason. Alessandra did not argue against holding hands, and she held his hand. She quietly walked beside Edgar into the kitchen to start preparing food. They found a pot with a note on the counter when they entered the kitchen. Edgar picked up the note with his free hand and read, "Dinner is in the pot. It only needs to be warmed for 3 minutes." They have thought about everything. He balled up the paper in his hands. Alessandra felt relieved they did not have to cook. There was bound to be a disaster with the two of them in the kitchen. We can eat dinner later. I am not hungry at the moment. She gasped after Edgar suddenly lifted her into his arms. Alessandra placed her hands on his shoulders, afraid she would fall. But Edgar would not let that happen. Then there is no need for me to prolong this, Edgar said, and placed Alessandra on the kitchen countertop. He tried to be patient, but he could no longer wait. The woman before him was more tempting than he expected. Her confidence to remove the mask right now had stirred something inside him. Let's pull you out of your shell by the night's end. Let's start with a simple game. Touch me for 1 minute, and you must not shy away. I have caught you sneaking glances at me many times, so now this is your chance to do as you please. Edgar took one step back so she could have a perfect view of his upper body. Where do I have to touch you? Alessandra shyly asked. Her cheeks felt warm, though she had not touched him yet. Edgar was glad to see Alessandra accept the game with ease. That's the fun part. You can touch me anywhere you desire. Do what has always been on your mind. Go on. Alessandra kept her hands on Edgar's shoulders until she found the confidence to do as he requested. She figured this must bring Edgar some pleasure, so she wished to give it to him. Her hands slowly slid from his shoulder, past his chest, and stopped at his well-defined stomach, decorated with abs that clouded her mind each time he went without a shirt. Alessandra followed the lines with her fingers and wondered how long Edgar's body had taken to become this fit. After she had traced every inch of his stomach, Alessandra did not know where else she was meant to touch him. She did not dare go any lower, so the only option was to go back up. In the end, she palmed Edgar's face and admired his beauty. When did her luck change to end up with such a husband? You just fell for me, didn't you? Edgar could not resist asking. He hoped she would take this time to do so much more, but he enjoyed her gentle touch. Alessandra removed her hands from his face and said, I realized I had gained luck to be married to a man like you. The world must finally be on my side. No. Edgar picked up her hand and kissed it. Luck has nothing to do with it. You were the one to approach me with the idea of us being together. I still find myself amused by that night. And I find myself wondering how I got you to agree. Alessandra chuckled. Edgar memorized Alessandra's face as she laughed without being cautious of her scars. Alessandra. He said her name to get her attention. He caressed her left cheek with his hand. I need a taste of you, he said, using his other hand, which was once on her waist, to pull her against his body, careful not to pull her off the counter. Alessandra's heart felt as if it would jump out of her throat as Edgar neared her with the clear intention of kissing her. Alessandra perked her body to reach up to meet his lips without thinking about her actions. She closed her eyes as soon as their lips touched, and her nervousness somehow faded. Seeing her close the gap between them was the last straw that broke Edgar's control. He had been waiting too long to kiss her. Kneading her closer as their lips moved in sync, Edgar once again lifted her into his arms and hooked his hands right under her buttocks to hold her up. He genuinely intended for it to be a soft, gentle kiss to ease her into it, but the need to feel her made him do otherwise. He hungrily kissed her as if it would be the first and only time he would have the opportunity to kiss her. Her warm breath tickled his nose due to their closeness. Unable to resist it, Edgar gently squeezed her buttocks and was rewarded with a sweet moan from Alessandra against his lips. The sound surprised Alessandra, as she had never made such a sound before, but it had probed Edgar to bite her lip. And when she gasped, he stuck his tongue inside her mouth to taste more of her. Edgar could not refrain from laughing when he tasted the familiar alcohol they shared the night they played the drinking game. She must have taken it while she was getting dressed for courage. He did not mind it, as she had not drunk it to the point she became drunk and was not in her best mind where they should not be continuing this. On the other hand, Alessandra was worried about whether she was kissing him right. She was not aware tongues were meant to be used, so when Edgar shoved his tongue inside her mouth, she was unsure of what to do, but did not wish to tell him to stop. She tried her best to follow his movement with her tongue. She gasped once again when Edgar squeezed her buttocks again. A lump in her throat and a feeling building up in her stomach. Alessandra opened her eyes as Edgar drifted away from her and blushed at the sight of saliva breaking apart between them. She looked away to hide her embarrassment and asked, Did I do it right? Oh boy. Edgar bit his lip as he found her naivety and innocence to be a turn-on. You did well, Alessandra, but it is not over yet, he said, placing her on the counter again and turning her head to face him. Will you allow me to see more of you? What do you mean? Alessandra asked, as he saw all of her. Edgar hooked his finger around one of the straps holding her nightdress up and pulled it down a bit for her to get what he meant. I want to remove this. Only the top, while the bottom remains covered. Can I? Alessandra was sure her face must be bright red and wished there wasn't so much light in the kitchen to hide it. She nodded, permitting him to do as he wanted, but she had one request. We should go to our bedroom. The kitchen is not the right place to be doing this. Edgar begged to differ. As long as I desire you, the location shall never matter. But I will follow your request for tonight, he said, hoisting her up to take her to the privacy of their bedroom.